Hey everybody, what's going on? Baru here, back inside of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, to give you all my Nisha build. It is finally here. Sorry it's taken so long, as you know. Been taking a little bit of break from things. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. If you're new to this, basically I'm going to go over the gear, going to go over the spec, and then some gameplay at the end. If you want to see anything specific, be sure to check the description, as there are timestamps, as I like to go very in-depth in the videos, usually about 10 to 15 minutes long. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into it. So, Nisha is mostly focused on a pure damage aspect. The only form of healing that we're really going to be getting is the Celestial Lawbringer. There is a little bit of passive healing, but not too much. So, in order to get your healing, you're going to need to be killing, which is not going to be too much of an issue for Nisha. So, let's go over the gear first. First off, we have the Absolute Zero. This item comes from EOS. The final boss of the Claptrap DLC. Absolutely amazing base damage with a very fast reload. The mag size is a bit low, but because of Nisha's reloading abilities, you won't have too much of an issue with that. And its range is actually pretty strong for a laser. It's also Mala, so you get an additional 218% continuous damage the longer you hold down the trigger. So you're going to be able to get that full effect because of the extra 3 bullets that are for Nisha. I definitely do recommend this for the mobbing. I don't know so much for bossing. It can be a little bit iffy, but that's what the other guns here are for. Speaking of which, there is a Nukem in here with terrible parts, because sometimes you just got to fire off a Nukem. Don't worry about it. It's not really part of the build. I just killed the boss. He dropped a Nukem, so I was like, you know what? Nukem. Let's go. Anyway, so the next item we have here is the Rustler's Flare. This is another item in the Claptrap DLC. Probably the strongest shotgun in the game for Nisha. Very fast reload speed. And because of her skill to add 3 bullets, this is a 6-shot shotgun. So you can fire it as fast as you want. And because of Nisha's ability to get body shot or crits on body shots, it is very, very powerful. I've honestly tempted to go the crit prefix, but I decided not to, and instead just go Rustlers, because that's what I'm mostly comfortable with. And for our final gun, we're going to have a Maggie. The Maggie, honestly, is stronger than the Luck Cannon. Even if you give the Luck Cannon 4 shots, I don't see it working. I really don't. For some reason, to me, the Luck Cannon just doesn't do the damage that I want it to put out, because it is a Luck Cannon, and it could potentially be awesome, or it could just never proc, and that's not for me. Especially when I'm going from enemy to enemy, I don't want to spend extra time on one because the luck chance didn't end up procking on it. So we're gonna go Loaded Maggie, and I have a Loonshine bonus on it for 10% critical buff. That's not really necessary at all. 10% is not that much, so I mostly do it just because it has cool little lines on it, man. Futuristic. Anyway. So those are the 3 guns that we're going to be using, or 4. And we also have a Muck in here in case you want to use that for the transfer glitch. The sniper rifle itself is honestly not that bad, but not something I would use. Now let's go over shields. Prismatic Bulwark. This thing is awesome if you're going to be using the Absolute Zero. It's going to increase your damage by 35%, which is a lot. And if you don't want to use the Absolute Zero, there are 2 other shields that I run with. I use the Sham for absorbing bullets, because really that's the only thing that Nisha needs is some protection. There are no other real damage shields outside of the Alkaline Rerouter. Now, the reason I use this is mostly just for a little bit of healing in case I actually do get my shield. There are some skills in here that will instantly regenerate my shield, allowing me to use the Alkaline Rerouter just a little bit, especially when we combine that with, say, an Eddy, which will be increasing our shield capacity, giving us laser damage, air control, and occasionally giving us shield and life. So definitely recommend using the Eddy if you are going to be using the Alkaline Rerouter. In fact, just use the Eddy, because honestly, it's the only Oz kit in this game that's actually worth a damn, because reasons. Alright, so now we have Data Scribber for our grenade. I really don't use this ever. Enemies die too quickly. By the time I throw the grenade and it reaches them, they're probably already dead. So I guess kind of use this on bosses, and that's really it. Other than that, I don't see any use of this grenade, or any grenade in general. Sorry about that. So I wouldn't recommend. And then for our class mod, it's going to be the same as the last Nisha build I made, which is the Celestial Lawbringer, giving you +5 Bonafide Grit, Ruthless Law, Bottled Courage, Wanted, Quick Shot, and 4.5% of the damage that you deal is converted into health, meaning that if you are in Showdown, you are getting full health on pretty much every attack. So, yeah, and a 50% cooldown rate, which is one of the main reasons I use this. So that is all of the gear. Again, this comes from the very first boss in the game, Flame Knuckle. This one comes from the final boss of the Claptrap DLC, Rustler's Flare, good luck. Maggie, good luck. Prismatic Bulwark from the Sentinel. Celestial Lawbringer, good luck. Actually, I believe it comes from the Stalker. Eddie will come from Claplek, and the Data Scrubber comes from a quest inside of the Claptrap DLC. Sham, good luck, and Alkaline Rerouter will come from Shadow Trap. And then Muckamuck, just somewhere in the Claptrap DLC. Anywhere, really. Alright, so now let's go ahead and go over the spec. So starting off, we have Showdown. That's going to give us our auto-aiming ability as well as a bunch of passive buffs. Now let's go ahead and go over the 3 trees that we're going to be going down here. Starting off with Law and Order. Now the Law and Order tree is mostly based on building up stacks of order and using that for health regen. So you've got Law first. Well, you're going to have to take both of these, but you've got Law first, increasing our shield capacity by 45% and our melee damage. Melee damage is irrelevant, but the shield capacity is nice. Next, we have Order. Every time you take 15% of your maximum health in damage, you gain a stack of Order based on the number of Order stacks you have. You have a chance to instantly heal, double the damage taken. Order stacks are lost when outside of combat. So the maximum stacks that I can end up having is 25%. So once you get, your 25 stacks up, there's a chance that you're just going to heal for the damage rather than actually taking the damage, which is why I go down this tree. It's basically giving yourself a sham, but instead of absorbing the bullet and putting it into your inventory, you're absorbing the bullet and putting it into your health. Literally. You're just healing from enemies shooting you, which is awesome. And it's honestly not that hard to build your order stacks. Now we're going to go Rough Rider. We're not really doing this for the increased slam damage. All we're really doing this for is to increase our order stack cap by 5. I really don't find any time to use my slam to damage enemies for order stacks because they're dead before I can get to them. Now we have Wanted. Whenever an enemy would cause you to gain a stack of order, he also gains a stack of Wanted and all of that good stuff. I don't use this skill. I'm going to be honest here. There's really no reason to have this outside of, hey, this one's also terrible. So you kind of have to throw your points somewhere. So I throw just enough to get us to the next tier. So next up we have Discipline. Whenever you reach 10 stacks of order, your shields are fully restored. And while at 10 or more, you get improved melee damage, gun damage, shield recharge for each stack that you have. In addition, it increases your order stat cap by 5. So again, if you're at 25%, you're going to have another 20, or if you're at 25 stacks, you're going to have another 25% gun damage passively at all times, which is really nice. Then we have Blood of the Guilty. When you or an ally kills an enemy, you gain a stack of order and 5% of your health is restored. So this is going to be one method that you can get your health back, which is really nice, and it's either you or an ally, so this will work in co-op very effectively. In addition, this will increase your stat cap by 5, so even more stacks of order. Now we have Jurisdiction, which during Showdown, you regenerate health and bonus movement speed. This is a little bit of health regen moving from enemy to enemy and in between reloads, so that's kind of nice to have. But mostly I do this for the movement speed because I like to move from area to area very quickly, as fast as I can, and this is a good skill to have. And then finally we have Raring to Go. Killing an enemy grants you bonus reload speed and gun damage based on the number of order stacks that you currently have. So if you have 50 or 25 stacks, you will have 50% gun damage and 50% reload speed passively upon killing an enemy. So 50% gun damage from just killing an enemy. And you combine that with the 25 you already have here. So that's 75% gun damage. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of gun damage. And we haven't even gone into the other tree, which is why I like going into the Law and Order tree. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at Fan the Hammer skill tree. To start things off, we're going to be going into Ruthless to increase our our showdown time by 1 second every time we get a kill, which your average kill ratio inside of showdown is usually going to be 4 or 5 or more, depending on how dense the area is. So this will increase your showdown time by 4 to 5 seconds or more, depending on just like how dense it is. It has nothing to do with how quickly you can kill them. It's more just about how many enemies are in there, because you're going to kill them instantly. Now we have Saddle Up for increased movement speed and an additional 25% gun damage on a kill. Now we're up to, I believe, 100% gun damage. Yeah, I feel like we're up to 100% gun damage now. Nice. And then we throw 1 point into Bottled Courage, because why not? Restore some of our shields, which is nice for using the rerouter. A little bit shield charge, recharge delay, and rate. That's always nice. I don't go into Magnificent 6 because it's honestly not even needed, because it only works on non-elemental weapons, and it's only the last 6 shots. And it's not even that great of a bonus, so it's not worth the points. In addition, Short Fused is just not that great. Because you have to be close to them in order to get that full damage, and I don't find it that useful. Now we're going to go into Faster Than You, which gives you an additional 35% reload speed, weapon swap speed, and fire rate on a kill, which is nice. We're not going to pick up Pickpocket because we're never using our melee ever. Nisha's melee is very long, and for some reason they decided to make the animation last forever. Gunslinger is completely useless, let's be honest. All it does is reload your gun, and Nisha already has like a bunch of reload speed skills, so she doesn't even need this. High Noon we're not going to go into, because 3% gun damage per second is not worth it to me for a 5-point investment. I'm not going to be wasting my time in there, considering that I'm going to be constantly going into Showdown over and over again and not just lasting forever. This skill was nice when the Celestial Lawbringer was broken and you could just stay in Showdown forever, but now that it is fixed, I don't find it worth it. And we're going to go into Hell's Coming With Me, which after reloading with your maximum via Pickpocket, after you reload your gun or get the maximum clip via Pickpocket, you're going to be able to, fire twice. So basically every time you reload your gun. Now we have one for each of you, so that way we can hold 2 Maggies. That's the only reason we spec into this, is if you want to use Maggies. If you don't want to use pistols, just don't spec into this and throw it somewhere else. Although I have no idea where you would throw the point, to be honest. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the Riflewoman tree. Now, we're going to start off with Bonafide Grit, which is going to give us a little bit of health regen, 4% per second, but that's not that important. What we're really getting this for is the 70% critical hit damage bonus, which it's a lot. 70% is pretty ridiculous, so we're definitely going to want that. Now, we're going to put 5 points into Snapshot for a little bit of accuracy and some recoil reduction. This definitely helps with the flare. I don't put any points into Unchained because we're going to be using our 2 primary weapons are a flare and a Maggie, both of which have uncapped fire rates, and an Absolute Zero, which already has a 10.2 fire rate. So Unchained is not even necessary, so don't bother with it. We are going to be going into Quick Shot, however, which will give us 60% gun damage upon reloading, so now we're up to 160%. And 70% fire rate. Again, this is why you don't need Unchained. We've already got like the 100% fire rate. We don't need any more. Now we have Fistful of Bullets. This will add 3 to the magazine size, which is really nice for the flare, the Maggie, and the Absolute Zero. So definitely pick this up. Then we have Impatience. Whenever you get a kill, you increase your reload speed by 20% for every kill until you reload. So just a little bit of extra speed there. Now, we're not going into Crack Shot because I don't really find it that necessary. The first shot is not really, 50% damage on one shot is not worth a 5-point investment. In addition, we're not going to go into Trick Shot because the auto aim kind of already does this for us. and it doesn't work with the absolute zero. So again, I don't find it necessary for a 5-point investment. And then again, hot lead. Your critical hits with non-elemental guns deal additional incendiary damage. Incendiary damage in the pre-sequel is very, very undervalued because most of the time you're not going to have oxygen, which makes the incendiary not do any damage to begin with. So again, not worth the investment. But what is worth the investment is Tombstone. After you kill an enemy, there's a 30% chance that whenever you hit the enemy, you'll instead do a critical instead of a body shot. This is awesome when using the Flare, the Absolute Zero, or the Maggie. Or hell, even the Nukem. There's nothing more hilarious than watching a Nukem crit, because reasons. But word of warning, if you are going to use a Nukem, make sure you're not in Showdown, because auto-aim Nukem is not very fun to work with. You'll probably end up blowing yourself up. But that's one of the bread and butter skills of Nisha. You can go the class mod that increases this, but 30% honestly is enough. And then finally we have Unforgiven, which during Showdown, all shots that hit enemies ricochet towards other enemies, and dealing 10% of the weapon damage per hit. Also, when Showdown ends, you do a giant explosion, hitting everything depending on whatever you shot or ricocheted into. So a little bit of extra damage there, but mostly just doing that so that way our bullets can ricochet, because honestly, the ricochet bullets are enough to kill enemies, assuming that they don't just die outright to begin with. So that is going to be the build that we're going to be using for Nisha. That's the gear. And now we're going to go ahead and swap over to a bit of gameplay. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button, help support me in what I do, and don't forget to subscribe for future videos. Thank you all for watching. You all been fantastic. And I'll catch you all in the next one, everybody. Later.
Son of a...